Gurmaigat Las Cancorla, and can I welcome the fact that Minister McConalogue is here. It's good to see a senior minister taking topical issues, and I hope that his presence is in recognition of the importance of the pig sector and the crisis that it faces, because the pig sector in Ireland is a vital component of our rural economy, albeit one that is often under-recognised. Almost 10,000 jobs are directly and indirectly supported by the sector. In fact, there are 1,675 pig farms across the state, and 1,108 of those have 5 pigs or less. In fact, the pig sector is the third largest agri-food sector. Exports alone of pig meat were worth over €893 million in 2020. And it's concentrated in particular parts of the country, my own constituency, Cavan Monaghan, being a prime example. And in those regions, it's an integral part of the local economy. And put simply, if the pig sector is in trouble, so too are those rural economies. And Minister, the sector is in big trouble. It's been hit hard by what I heard being described as a perfect storm of crises, any one of which would have been a calamity, and together they represent an existential threat unless real action is forthcoming. Brexit, in the first instance, has had a devastating impact. Britain is the most important export market, but exports there are down 14% since Brexit. Transport costs then have mitigated against any real prospect of alternative markets being sourced. Input costs have literally gone through the roof. Costs of feed, such as barley and wheat, have increased by 50%. Increase in energy costs have hit really hard. I spoke to one pig farmer today who has seen his gas bill increase from €10,000 a month to €40,000 per month. And then electricity price hikes are also having a severe impact. So input costs are going up and factory prices are falling. And to compound the situation, the capacity of processing plants is at a crisis point due to staff shortages. And so this results in delays in getting pigs to factories, and every day delayed means further increased costs. And if those delays result in pigs becoming out of spec, there's a further cost of up to €50 per animal. So in essence, what we have is insufficient slaughter capacity, meaning the farmers are paying more to feed pigs for which they'll receive less. So there's obviously an immediate cash flow crisis, but it didn't happen overnight. Many deputies have been raising this, not only here but also in the Assembly, because there's a north-south aspect to all of this. The department, I acknowledge, established a pig roundtable early last year. So clearly there's been plenty of talking about the crisis that the sector is facing, but now what's required is action, because we simply can't wait for transport costs to decrease or for the new deadline for veterinary alignment with Britain. And we need action in the first instance on the staffing crisis in the processors. The Minister has referenced his engagements with the Department of Enterprise regarding permits previously and reported progress. But pig farmers, I have to tell you, Minister, are telling me they haven't seen evidence of that progress. So maybe you could outline tonight what is the delay and whether you can assure us this evening that there will be a physical evidence of increased workforce in the coming days. I also note that the Minister has engaged with banks and SPCI. Maybe he'll explain what the outcomes are. Will we see increased funding to the SPCI, ring-fence for the pig sector? Will we see relaxed conditions so that farmers who have already been denied finance by their bank will be supported? Because again, farmers are telling me that they're being refused finance, particularly because of the volatility that we're encouraging them to take the loans to alleviate in the first place. Minister, will the department ensure that all levies being imposed on these farmers are suspended for the duration of this crisis? And finally, and this is important, considering the impact of Brexit, will the government deliver direct supports via the Brexit Adjustment Reserve? Because if the Brexit Reserve can't be utilised for this sector at this time, then it's difficult to see how any farmer will ever be able to secure funding from it.
4 minutes.
Thank you, Las Concorda, and thank you very much, Deputy Carthy, for raising this very important and immediate issue in the Dáil this evening. The continued development of the pig meat sector is a real priority for me. given the pivotal role that the industry plays in the national economic context. And you outlined that in relation to it being the third largest grossing sector in the agri-food sector. It's a sector which supports approximately 8,000 jobs spanning production, slaughter, processing, feed manufacture and services. Our pig farmers have always been remarkably resilient, but I'm very much acutely aware of the challenges they're facing at present. The sector across the EU has faced significant challenges in 2021, including the impact of African swine fever in a number of member states and consequential loss of third country markets. Obviously, this has had a knock-on effect on supply and prices within the single market. The average price paid for pigs in Ireland has fallen in recent months in line with trends across the EU, and the 2021 average price was over 8% lower than that of 2020. And as of the 23rd of January, the average price for grade E pigs came in at €1.40 per 100 kilo, or €140 per 100 kilo. That is over 8% lower than the same week last year. However, this is in fact still well above what the EU average price is. At the recent European Council of Agriculture Ministers, I clearly expressed my concerns in relation to the difficulties facing the Irish pig meat sector, both in relation to the ongoing impact of increases in fuel, fertiliser, feed and energy prices over recent times, which are putting margins further under more significant pressure, and the sustained nature of the difficulties being experienced as well on the pig meat market. I sought the rapid deployment by the Commission of appropriate solutions on both issues. I recently met with farmers as well of the IFA Pig Committee to discuss concerns. Following this, Minister Hayden and I met the main banks to discuss the current challenges in the pig meat sector and the importance of their ongoing support. At this meeting, it was emphasised the importance of the sector, its overall resilience, and the importance of their support to their customers through the current downturn in the business cycle. The key message was that farmers experiencing cash flow difficulties should engage with the banks as soon as possible, so as to discuss the options, and the banks were clear that they remain committed to supporting their customers in the period ahead. Separately, Minister Hayden and I met with the Strategic Banking Corporation of Ireland to discuss the Brexit Impact Loan Scheme and the COVID-19 Credit Guarantee Scheme, both of which are financed by the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine in partnership with the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment. These finance schemes can be used for working capital finance and include features which address the current financial needs of pig farmers. We are all aware of the cyclical nature of the commodity markets, which for the pig sector at this time is compounded by rising input costs, so they've been squeezed at both ends. During this period, maximum flexibility of financial matters will ensure the ongoing and are central to ensuring the ongoing viability in the pig sector. I'll shortly engage also, Deputy, and discuss the matter with members of the feed industry as well. Minister Hayden chaired the Pig Roundtable last week and had a further detailed discussion with all stakeholders, including farm representatives, the banks, the processing industry and the feed industry, on the current difficulties facing pig farmers, arising both from the lower market prices and the significant increase in input costs, which are likely to continue for at least the first half of this year. In terms of state supports, Board BIA outlined the significant efforts being made to promote quality assured Irish pig meat in the domestic and export markets, and Chugask outlined the dedicated advisory supports being provided to pig farmers. My department and I continue to monitor market situation very closely and are examining possible measures to assist in supporting farmers through the significant market disturbance. Now, I deeply understand the considerable challenges faced by our pig farmers and the very significant stress they're under, and will be continuing to engage them very closely over what I know is going to be a challenging period ahead, and seek to support them through that, Deputy Carthy.
Thanks. I saw reported in one media outlet that in 1996 the equivalent of what pig farmers were receiving equated to $1.40 a kilo. Today, 36 years later, they're getting $1.42. I think that puts in very stark terms just the broader challenges that this sector, like many of our other agricultural sectors, are facing. I welcome the initiatives that you've taken to date, Minister, but as I say, what I think we require now is clear resolve in terms of how we can allow our farmers to get over this crisis and flourish into the future. You didn't reference the issues pertaining to the workforce in the processing sector. You have outlined, I think, 2,000 staff that will be coming into the sector. The big question is, when will that happen? I believe it will make a difference, but it needs to happen quickly. The second point in relation to SCBI, are there measures going to be in place that those farmers who have already been in contact with their banks, but their banks have shown them the door, that they will actually have a realistic prospect of returning there? We'll have the measures that you've discussed with them. And finally, you talked about your raising at the Council of Ministers. Did anything productive come from that that we can point to that says this is going to allow this situation to be resolved? And I will return again to the point I made in relation to the Brexit Reserve Fund. It was the story of Irish agriculture, by and large, that allowed us to be successful in terms of making the case for the fund in the first place and for Ireland to have a significant portion of it. To date, farmers haven't received any of that in terms of direct supports. This is a clear area, an example of a sector that has been impacted by Brexit that would benefit from that. So I will ask you again, are you open to examining whether or not the Brexit Reserve Fund can be used in this instance, and will you expedite efforts to actually secure and deliver funding from that mechanism?
Minister, to conclude.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks very much, Deputy Carthy, and thanks for the constructive way in which you have raised this issue tonight, with the focus being on how we can support pig farmers at a very difficult time. Firstly, in relation to the workforce, that is something that I've been engaging with the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment, and Minister English in particular. We will be working to try and expedite the capacity there for workforce permits for the processing sector, which is really important and has been under pressure. With regard to the SBCSI, the Strategic Banking Corporation of Ireland and loans, I did explore and looked at the option potentially of a separate pig fund or a new scheme for pigs. But in terms of meeting with the banks and meeting with the SBCSI, it's clear that the Brexit Adjustment Reserve, Brexit loan scheme that's in place, and also the COVID Credit Guarantee Scheme are available and do apply to pig farmers here. And they provide 80% state-backed guarantee of the loan funding, and therefore lower interest rates and unsecured credit up to €500,000. So they're very much in place, and there isn't any limit on the amount of funding that's available through that. So that is, both of those are open for pig farmers to apply, and the banks are being very clear with farmers in relation to that, and it does provide it at lower interest rates and unsecured as well. So that support mechanism is there. In relation to Brexit Adjustment Reserve or other measures, I'm exploring and will look at all options. Obviously, there's the issues of state aid. So for capacity for any schemes, it would have to be led and provided for at European level for anything of significance to be available to the sector. And I will continue to engage with the Commissioner and the Commission on that and continue to raise it. They did commit to exploring it and closely monitoring the situation, but I will be raising it. I'll be in Strasbourg for the EU Council meeting this weekend, and we'll be raising it once more. Listen, I mean, like yourself, I'm very much aware of the pressure and the stress that's facing farmers here. Agriculture is a difficult industry, difficult sector, but of all the sectors within it, I often look at the pig sector and wonder at the stress and strain of that cyclical nature. And definitely this is a cyclical impact that is a very, very significant one. And when you're in that low end, it's very unclear when you can come out of it. And I want to work with farmers to support them through this period. Thank you.